Look what just arrived on my doorstep. This palette is giving drama, depth, and smoky vibes. This is Cosmic Beauty's new Smoulder Palette. In this video, I'm going to be swatching every single shade, giving you my honest first impressions of the formula, breaking down the color story, and comparing it to other palettes in my collection. So if you're wondering whether this beauty is worth your coin, stick around. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine. I'm a beauty and reselling enthusiast, and those are the things that I absolutely love to talk about on this channel. So if that's something that you like to watch, consider subscribing before you go. It has felt like an eternity since I have done a eyeshadow palette swatching video. I have a whole playlist for you that I can link on the screen if you're curious to know some of the other palettes that I've already swatched before. And I kind of like had this inkling that Cosmic Brushes / Cosmic Beauty, they might be in the middle of a name change. I don't know. It's Cosmic Brushes is still the website. But I kind of had this inkling that they were going to be coming out with something soon. And all of a sudden, I looked on their website and boom, here it was. Like I don't even remember hearing any news that it was coming out. It was like 2 days before it was going to be launched and I saw that it was coming out. So this is something new from them, and on the website, what does it say? Let me read it off to you. It says, introducing Smoulder. With a nod to the 90s and the early 2000s, this neutral color story with a wash of color makes it perfect for creating stunning smoky looks with a twist. Our new 20 shade palette has 12 mattes and 8 metallics. These include 2 strong shifting multi-chromes and 1 duochrome. So let's reveal the palette. Let's do some live swatches. I'm going to take this outside too so you can kind of see what it actually looks like in natural light compared to overhead lighting. And then let's compare to some other palettes to see, is this new or is this not? Let's get started. The palette does come in a unit carton. It is encapsulated with some bubble wrap. This does ship from the UK, so it's gonna have to come internationally. It does retail for $38 US dollars. And then for me in particular, I think I had to pay an extra $16 for shipping. So what is normally like a pretty affordable palette for $38, make sure you're also including like shipping, tariffs, whatever else is being added into the cost of everything. But I still think, it's not a Natasha Denona palette. Those are so much more. And I honestly think Cosmic Brushes formula is like just as good. But let's dive into the actual palette itself. So this is what it looks like. And I will tell you, when I first saw the promo photos of it, because like I said, I had an inkling they were coming out with something and I was very excited because I normally love all of their releases. I don't have all of them, but I have a huge chunk of them. And so I was excited to see it. And initially when I first saw it as a whole, I didn't really like it. I was just kind of like, oh, that's okay. Like, I don't think I really need that one. But then when I kind of like focused in on the actual shades themselves, kind of like individually, I was starting to get more intrigued. Especially for me, I'm kind of getting more into the like rosy tones for my eyes, because if you are new to this channel, you may not know, but I am like blush obsessed. I will link my latest blush haul for you so you can see some of the things that I've been loving lately. And so with that, I've kind of been trying to do a little bit more of a monochromatic look with a little bit more rosy tone eyes. So I gravitated towards those because the neutrals in here do have, like, they are on the more rosier tone. And then what kind of turned me off from this was the more grayish tones. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really love a gray. It just is not something that I use on a daily basis. It's not something I use on a yearly basis. It might be something I use during Halloween, and that's about it, just because I don't think grays look that great on me. But when I opened this up for the first time, I noticed that these grays kind of lean a little bit on like the grainy blue side of stuff. Like, you can see this spontaneous, charisma, sensual. There's like there's some undertone to it. It is just not just gray. So I found it a little bit more interesting. I still don't think I'm gonna gravitate towards them a lot, which then you say to yourself, well, if you're not going to use half the palette, why did you buy it? And that's gonna be something I question myself every day because I was intrigued and I had to know for myself. So this is what the palette looks like. So let's get into actually swatching everything. So if you've never been to one of my swatching videos before, I go shade by shade. I swatch everything. I let you know my thoughts of it. And then we typically will go outside in natural sunlight to kind of see what, you know, the more intricacies of the undertones. So diving on in. So this first shade up here is Swoon. It is described as a sparkly icy white shimmer with clear base. And I love the way, I love the formula of Cosmic brushes. It's just a really, they kill it. They got really good formula. There we go. A very icy white, just like it says. And it's not too chunky. It goes on really smoothly, like no issues whatsoever. Then moving into Shy, which is a cool pale pink nude matte. So a really pretty, like buffing out shade, inner corner highlight if you like more of a like nude highlight, or not nude, matte highlight. It's probably gonna be a little bit difficult to show up on me because I am quite fair. So let's build that up just a little bit. Really nice. I'm going to build up this other one too so we can have a really nice swatch to check outside. The next shade is going to be Intimate. It is a mid-tone pink matte. Let's see. The ring finger is not as strong as the other ones. Ooh, okay, that goes on a lot darker than what I anticipated. Yeah, that's much deeper compared to the pan on the skin. Now we're gonna go into Flushed, which is a mid-tone rose taupe. And if I haven't said it before, these mattes are really beautiful, like just super soft, easy to build up, really nice. Then we are going into Embers up here. Let's see, can you see it on the screen? Embers, which is described as a multichrome that shifts from glowing pink to yellow gold to green gold. Ooh, that's really pretty. I would say this shift is not like super unique. I feel like I don't own like tons of multichromes, but I feel like it's not the most unique of them all, but it still sure is real pretty. Let's build that up one more time. And it's very thin. Again, like not chunky whatsoever, very thin. And then we're gonna go into Kindle, a cool tone neutral matte. This is definitely gonna be calling my name for my very basic makeup days. Ooh, that's pretty. And what's interesting is that like this palette coming at the end of summer, beginning of fall is an interesting choice because I don't know, I guess my mind kind of gravitates more towards warm tones and stuff like that, and now you're seeing some kind of neutral, maybe cool leaning undertones in here. So it was just an interesting choice, not a bad choice, but it's just an interesting one. It almost feels closer to like a holiday palette or, you know, winter style type of palette. Next, we're going into Allure, which is a rose gold metallic. No difference in how it feels. Ooh, that is really pretty. Oh, so pretty. Those two colors together, oh my goodness. Basic bitch palette. Those two colors together, but they're so pretty. Even if they are basic, they're still very pretty. All right, now we're going into Slow Burn, which is a neutral nude matte. Another shade I feel like I will be frequenting a lot. And I'm barely, like, I'm not putting tons of pressure on these swatches either, and they're just building up so nicely. And then Charmed is a cool light gold metallic. Cool light gold. Ooh. That one's really pretty too. And then finishing out this roll is Sultry, which is described as a dark taupe matte. What I really like about Cosmic brushes is that they have a lot of great consistency between palettes. Like, there might be a shade here and there that isn't quite the same as the others, but for the most part, I feel like they are very consistent. Next, we're going into Smoulder, which is the namesake of the palette. This is a smoky taupe sparkly metallic. Ooh. Oh yeah, that is Smoulder for sure. Oh, really pretty. Okay, and then getting into Ashes, which is a cool tone dark brown taupe. Ooh, that one has a little bit left over of the shimmer from my previous swatch, so if it turns up a little bit shimmery, it's not in the palette. It is, there's no shimmers in the palette. That was my bad. That one's pretty as well. Then we're going into Flirty, which is a light cool nude matte. That one will also kind of just bleed right into my skin. We'll try to build it up a little bit more so we can see some distinguishment from it. Then we're going into Sensual, a cool green leaning gray matte. Yeah, I knew it had some green in it. Even for a dark tone, it builds up pretty nicely. There we go. And then Magnetism, an icy steel with a cool hint of green blue metallic. Very nice. Those colors go really well together. Now we are getting into the last row. We have Spontaneous, which is described as a mid-tone gray blue matte. Ooh, I like that, I like that combination of those three. That's really pretty. Then we have Ignite, a high shine multi-chrome with a blue base that shifts to a glowing pink to lime green. So this one's looks a little bit chunkier, but I bet you anything it like will, yeah, will go on even. Ooh, that's really pretty. What does it say? A blue base that shifts to a glowing pink to lime green. Hopefully we'll be able to see that a little bit more outside. But on my finger, I can see it kind of shifting in the different lights that I have. Okay, then we have Charisma, which is a pastel gray mint matte. Every time. I never have enough room. I always think about doing kind of like half swatches, like just doing that and then putting a different color on the other side, but I feel like I need the whole width of it to get a good swatch. So that one is pretty light as well. So build it up to kind of see the different colors. All right, and then the very last two, this one is Perfect Match, a duochrome with a neutral base and a subtle cyan shift. So that is what it looks like. I think I'm going to put these right here because when I tend to put them in my elbow crook, it doesn't work out too well. Ooh, that's really pretty. Kind of like, almost like is a taupey blue. I like that. And then per usual, they always have like a black in their palettes, it feels like. Chemistry, a black matte. I don't know if it's any different than any of their other black mattes, but they typically always put one in there, and it's always like a really pretty pigmented black shade. So there we go. Some of that black like flaked off to the other stuff. So I had to blow it off real quick. All right, so let's do a quick review of the shades before we head outside. So we have Swoon, Shy, Intimate, Flushed, Embers, Kindle, Allure, Slow Burn, Charmed, Sultry, Smolder, Ashes, Flirty, Sensual, Magnetism, Spontaneous, Ignite, Charisma, Perfect Match, and Chemistry. So let's go outside and see if we can see any of the, more shifts or any of the undertones of everything. All right, coming out into the sun, here is sun like pretty much directly behind me. See some of those different shifts. Let me turn around and put the sun at a different angle. Does that change anything? Not really. You can see more of the shifts of things. They look a little bit less muted. And now let's look at the actual swatches. Here are swatches of everything. The sun is quite intense today. If you didn't know, I live in southern Arizona and it's hot, so we won't be out here for long. Oh, can we see that shifty one? So that is what they look like out in the sun. Whew, okay, it was hot out there. Now we're back in the air conditioner. Let's actually compare this Smoulder palette to maybe some other potential similar color stories that you might already own. And I wanted to use some of their own palettes, comparing this against some of their own palettes that they have, as well as some other brands. So when I first looked at this, I went straight to my collection and be like, what looks similar? And I didn't compare any of the shades. I just kind of like popped open the palette and said, this could be something. So let's see if this is a dupe for anything. So we have Smoulder palette over here, and then I wanted to compare it to their actual most recent palette, which is the Lover's Color palette. I really loved this kind of like tarot card artwork. Hopefully they come out. I mean, this is such a like great concept to do multiples of, so hopefully they come out with something with that. So here is the palettes side by side. Let me try to get these, maybe zoom in a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so clearly it's not the same, but we have the same vibes. So we have some of this like rosy tone over here, same over here. So some immediate similarities I'm seeing is like Attraction and Intimate. This one looks a little bit more muted maybe. This one seems a little bit more pinky. I mean, I don't know if I'll have the room to swatch all of them, but yeah, this definitely seems a little bit more on the pinky side compared to this is a little bit more on like the mid-tone muted side. That's a terrible swatch comparison, sorry. It is what it is at this point. Then Affection seems very similar to probably Kindle up here. So where's Kindle in all this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Let's see. Affection, Kindle. Okay, Kindle definitely is a little bit on the lighter side, lighter and pinkier. You see that? Okay, kind of. And then, I mean, Commitment, Chemistry, I don't know if it's the exact same, but a black is, I don't want to say a black is a black because some of the blacks in the other palettes do have kind of like specific undertones. Like one of them I think has like more of a bluish undertone or grayish undertone. But this one seems like it's just a true, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same. It is pretty, maybe a hint grayer, but very, very, very close. And then while it's not the exact same, we're still getting some of this like green mintiness over here that we are in here. So are these dupes for each other? Not really, but they kind of give similar vibes. This one seems a little bit more poppy pastel-y compared to this being a little bit more mid-tone neutral. Now I also wanted to compare it against the Sinister palette. Now this was the palette that was a mystery box palette last year for Halloween. So this is what it looks like. Oops. Up close and personal. So let's put these side by side. Okay. Again, not off the bat do they look super similar because this has definitely more deep red purple tones, but we are getting some of the grayish, you know, some pinky tones over here. Maybe some of the shimmers are similar, like Chilling seems like it could be similar to maybe not, because this one seems more of a true silver shimmer, and these all had like undertones of things. Eerie could be similar a little bit to Embers. Let's see, Embers is right here. Let's swatch Eerie to it. No, this one definitely has more pin particle. Like you can actually feel a little bit of grit with that one compared to the other shimmer. But I mean, it still has kind of that pinky orange shift to it. And of course, Void, you know, we'll compare it just for comparison's sake, is another black. Another black shadow. So this one, not as similar as the other one, but you know, there are some shades that are kind of similar. So that is the Sinister palette. And then I wanted to compare it to the Cool Trolls palette. So this came out last year as well in conjunction with the Nude Trolls palette, which the Nude Trolls, I guess I could probably get to. I might go get that one as well to compare it because I didn't even flip it open to see if it looked anything similar. But here are these two compared to each other. So the Cool Trolls definitely leans a little bit more on the bluish side of stuff with the cool tones, and this definitely leans a little bit more on the gray-green side. As far as the shimmers, Slate and Smoulder might be similar. Let's see. Yeah, those are oddly similar. So that's Smoulder and that is Slate. I mean, this one seems a little bit darker, like Smoulder seems a little bit darker in undertone compared to Slate in the Cool Trolls palette, but still kind of similar. And what else? We have Eternal and Kindle, but Eternal in person definitely looks peachier than Kindle. And I think that might be the, I mean, shadow. This one definitely is grayer compared to Chemistry. I can see that right off the bat. So I'm not going to swatch those two, but it still is a deeper shadow. And then Eclipse is a sparkle or shimmer black. All right, let me go get the neutrals palette really quick and let me compare those two. Okay, so here is the neutral palettes that came out with Cool Trolls. So this is what it looks like. And to be fair, I think there are a lot more differences than there are similarities, but we can see that this does kind of pick up a little bit on the rosy neutral side of things. We have our black again. I was thinking Radiant and Swoon might be really similar, but this one's definitely going to be icier. I can see like the green shift in that. So not super similar. Yeah, this definitely has more of a like peachier mustard, a little bit more on the warm side of things compared to this is more on the neutral side of things, which is interesting that this is called the neutrals when this is more nude. All right, so now let's get into some palettes that are not made by Cosmic Brushes that I just kind of, like I said, quickly flipped through and saw if they had any similar vibes to it. So the first one is BH Cosmetics Passion in Paris. I've had this one forever, and this is what it looks like. And if we compare the two, I was thinking more on the like rosy tone side, but other than that, I think that's where it kind of ends. I mean, we do have this, the Musée d'Orsay, that is more of a, I think kind of like a blue-green leaning black compared to Chemistry, which is like a true black. Champs-Élysées, kind of like in between Kindle and Shy. Notre Dame is kind of like Kindle, but I think that's where it goes. I mean, Louvre, that might be kind of similar to Swoon. Let's see. Swoon is more like scattered particles, if that makes sense, and this one is more of like a traditional shimmer shadow, the one in BH Cosmetics, but the undertones are pretty similar, if we could see that. All right, the next one I grabbed was actually Sigma Enchanted, and I picked this one up again because it had a little bit on like the greeny side with the dark black and then some of the rosy neutral tones. So if we put those head to head, I mean, I feel like the Smoulder definitely has a lot more undertones with it. This, what is this one called? Metamorphosis, that you can clearly tell it's like my favorite shade in the palette. And it kind of reminds me of, what is this? Perfect Match. It might not look like it, but it gave me very similar thoughts to it. Maybe not at all. So this one has more of a dark, or what do I want to say? I should say the one in the, what is this? The Enchanted palette doesn't have a base. It has a very like warm tone base to it compared to this. But because this one is kind of like a brown blue mixture, I thought it would kind of be the same, but they are not the same whatsoever. That one is definitely my favorite in that palette, if you couldn't tell. I do wish it was a little bit on the thicker side. It's like a very thin formula in this palette. Other than that, not as many vibes, not as many matches. And the next palette is from Nomad Cosmetics. This is their Ghost Town USA palette, and that's what it looks like. And I kind of pulled this palette out because of more of the mutedness of everything. Can we see the whole palette? I think so. More of the mutedness of everything. So we can kind of see like Sensual and what is that? Stagecoach Mary. Similar vibes. I don't think it's gonna be an exact match, but let's see. You never know. Where is this one going to be? I think it's this. Okay, the Stagecoach Mary in the Nomad palette definitely leans more on the green side compared to like the grayish blue side. More of a green undertone. What about Skinner's Saloon? Sorry, the type on this is a little bit hard to read because it's gold and I have the lights like beaming onto it. So Skinner's Saloon, this is definitely more of a steel blue, which, I messed up. Whoops. That was supposed to be compared to that, but we can see there's a difference to it. That one's a lot darker. So that one's actually Sensual in this palette, and that is Stagecoach Mary. So still more on the green side, but definitely darker. Okay, so this one actually should have been compared to Spontaneous, which is this color. So we'll just put it off to the side right here. Again, the one in the Smoulder palette has a little bit of a deeper tone, but the undertones are kind of similar to that like gray blue. And then what else? Undead Sheriff kind of reminds me of Slow Burn. Kind of like Slow Burn. Where's Slow Burn in all this? Don't want to get it wrong again. Hold on. That one I know is Kindle, Allure, Slow Burn. Okay. Oh no, that's definitely more taupey. The Undead Sheriff from the Nomad Cosmetics. Yeah, Nomad Cosmetics. Definitely on the taupier side of things. Okay, so again, kind of muted tones, similar vibes, but not dupes. And then the last one, I don't think it will be, I don't know if it'll even be a close match, but I kind of like flipped it open. I was like, yeah, maybe. And this is the Nomad Chamonix Après-Ski palette. And I should say, I've already linked it on the screen, but at the very beginning, but all of these palettes, minus the Passion in Paris palette, I have, well, and I think minus the Sigma Enchanted palette, I have swatching videos of. So it goes a little bit more in depth into that. But then this is the Chamonix Après-Ski palette. Again, picked it out, kind of rosy tones, kind of greens, kind of grays. So I don't know if too much is going to be similar. Les Alpes might be similar to Swoon. Oh, that one has a little bit more on a purple blue base to it. I'm getting all sort of acrobatic up in here. So definitely more of a purple blue base compared to like a silver base. Let's see. Racelet might be like Shy. Let's try to, that one's pretty similar. A little bit lighter, a little bit more of like a white base to it compared to a pink base. Okay. And then, let's see, Fondue is definitely more of a pastel green compared to Charisma. That might be it as far as comparisons. So that's all I have in my collection. And as you saw, none of them were like exact dupes or anything like that. You kind of got similar vibes of more of the mid-tone, kind of muted colors of everything, but this seems like a pretty unique color story. Like I said, it's $38 in US. you have to decide if that's worth it for you. I'm actually kind of excited now that I see it all together and I see the shadows for what they are, like individually swatched out. It as a whole, I didn't really love it all together, but I definitely can see combinations of this stuff that would work well. I can tell you 100% that Intimate is not a shade I probably will use. I don't like that type of pink color, but I like more of this Kindle color, you know, a little bit more on the brown pinky side, a little bit more on the rosy side compared to like very vibrant pink. What is gonna be my favorite shimmer? Ooh, I really like Smoulder. I usually always like the shade that the palette is named after. I like Smoulder, but I really like this Perfect Match. I think that's super pretty. I kind of like the greenish taupiness of it all. Can you see it? Am I even on screen? This one right here. I really like that one. I don't know. And now that I see like the grays, which are really more like greeny gray blues swatched out, I think I might actually use those a little bit more than what I thought I would. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have this palette again. It's kind of an interesting take. What did I say at the very beginning? It is supposed to be this like 90s 2000s palette color story. I mean, I guess I kind of see that, which is kind of interesting because that is a like kind of a reselling style aesthetic as well, that is selling really well. So it's kind of neat to see it in a like eyeshadow palette, pressed pigment palette, I should say, because I think some of these are what they consider not safe for the eye. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you think this kind of what is the word? Embodies the 90s, early 2000s vibes, kind of that grungy glam moment? Did you like the tones of it? The swatches? Which shade was your favorite or least favorite? Overall, the quality is great too. They smash it out of the park with their quality, and I like their color stories. They have very nice usable color stories while still having like really pops of fun with it too. So I think it leans well to somebody like myself who, you know, I do a basic eye look most of the time and then like to have playful moments every so often. But I also think this works for somebody who likes a lot of playful moments but also likes to do a neutral look every so often. So it's very versatile and I like it, and they do a very good job of this. So let me know your thoughts down below. I will have this linked down below if you want to shop through my links. Sometimes they are affiliated. I don't know if this one's affiliated. It might or might not be. I'll just say that it is in the case that it is. So I'll earn a small commission if you choose to shop through them. You don't have to, but it does support this channel if you do. And with that, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.